Hi, this video is about how to deploy a mean stack application in an AWS environment. So mean stack basically means an application developed with Mongo, Express, Angular and Node.js. I have explained how to develop a mean stack application in the video suggested above. You can check that out to understand how to create your own mean stack application. So for this example, I'll be deploying the mean stack application which I had developed in the suggested video into the AWS environment. So this was the Angular UI of the application, and this JSON was returned from the Node.js application which I had created separately as a backend and which was getting its value from the Mongo database. So now let us see how to deploy this particular application in AWS. Before moving on, do check out my YouTube channel Vimara Hub. I have various technical topics ranging from Angular, Java, AWS and database technologies like MySQL, Mongo, etc. Please don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon. So to deploy your mean stack application into AWS, first of all, you'll need an AWS account. If you are new to AWS, check out this suggested video to understand what is AWS and how to use its different features. So once you have your account and you have logged into the AWS Management Console, select EC2 to create a new virtual machine for yourself to deploy your mean stack application. Click on Launch Instance to create a new instance. So I'm going to deploy the mean stack application in an Ubuntu environment. So I'll just select Ubuntu out of the available AMIs. So I'm using a free tier account. Before launching, just click on the Configure Security group and add a new rule for HTTP protocol, since we'll be using the HTTP protocol to access our Angular application. Now click on Review and Launch. You can click on Launch. So it will ask for creating a new key pair. So if you are creating an EC2 instance for the first time and don't have a key pair in your local, you can use the create a new key pair. I have a key pair, so I'll be just using that. I'll just click on acknowledge and select launch instance. So you see our Ubuntu instance has started. So let me try to connect to my Ubuntu instance using PuTTY. So I'll use the key pair which I had saved to create a private key. You can check out my previous video on AWS to understand how this is done. So the default username is Ubuntu. So this is just a plain Ubuntu VM which we have created using AWS EC2. So currently it does not have anything which would support our mean stack application deployment. So we need to install Node.js and NPM to support our front-end and back-end applications developed in Angular and Node.js. We'll need a Pm2 Server to run our back-end API service as a background process. We'll also install Nginx to reroute the URLs. In my application, I have used Mongo Atlas, so I have configured the database from the Atlas source. You can also install Mongo in this particular Ubuntu instance and use the database after creating it in this instance. So let's start on with the installation. First of all, I'll add the Node.js 10 PPA from the node source. Now I'll install Node.js and NPM. So I'll be providing all these commands in the description. You can check that to create a mean stack development environment in your EC2 instance. So npm and Node.js has installed. Now next, I'll install a Pm2 server using npm command. Now I'll provide it to be started automatically on system startup. Next, I'll install Nginx to reroute my URLs. And finally, I'll do some firewall changes. So to summarize, I have installed Node.js and NPM at first. Then I had installed a Pm2 server to keep my backend running, and I had installed Nginx server. And finally I had done some firewall changes. So since Mongo is in Atlas, I'll not be installing Mongo. but you can install Mongo for your own application and use that. So since the setup for our mean stack deployment is ready, we can go ahead and clone the backend application. So my backend application is in this repo in GitHub. So I'm placing it in user backend path. So I've cloned it. Now next I'll cd to that path and npm install to install the libraries required for my backend application. And these are the files of my backend application. So I can use the command sudo pm2 start app.js to start my Node.js application. So it says status is online. So if I open my app.js, you can see I'm using the Atlas Mongo database as my database source, and I'm running the application on port 3000, and /videos will return the JSON. So now let me just test if my backend URL is running. So I'll just hit on localhost 3000/videos. So you can see the Node.js application returns the JSON data from Mongo database. Now since we have our backend up and running, so this is the GitHub repository of my Angular application frontend. So I'll not be cloning the entire repository to the Ubuntu system, since to deploy the Angular application we just need the dist folder. So I have just cloned my repository in my local. So if you have any doubt how to work with Git, you can check out my video as suggested above on GitHub. So this was the Angular application which I had created in one of my previous videos on Angular. So I was using the URL localhost 3000 to connect to my backend. So for this example, I'll be naming the URL as /API. So after making the change, I'll just build my Angular application. Now I'll create a new folder as user frontend, and I'll change the ownership for the folder to the user Ubuntu. So now I'll just open a WinSCP session, connect to my EC2 instance, and open the path user frontend. And in my local, I'll open the folder where my project exists and copy the content of the dist folder into my user frontend. So now I have deployed my Angular application in the user frontend folder. Now the next step is to configure our Nginx server. So for that, we'll just remove the existing Nginx configuration present in this path, and we'll create a new configuration for our Nginx server with these entries. So it specifies a server tag which mentions that it's listening on port 80, which is the default port for HTTP. For Angular frontend application, we have provided that the root location is /. That means whenever we provide the domain name of our EC2 instance, we'll be able to access our Angular application. And the root folder for the Angular application is user frontend. That is where we had copied the dist folder. And for the backend, we have mentioned that whenever there is a hit to /API, there should be a proxy path to HTTP localhost 3000. That is where we have started the Pm2 server for our backend Node.js application. Just save it. Since we have done some configuration changes, I'll restart the Nginx. So with this step, the deployment of our mean stack application is complete. Now you can use the domain name of your EC2 instance to access the Angular application. So you see our Angular application is up and running in the EC2 instance. And when I click on the About button, the JSON values from the Mongo database are returned through the Node.js application. So this is how you can deploy your mean stack application that is having Mongo, Express, Angular and Node.js in an EC2 instance of an AWS environment. I hope this information was helpful to you. Thank you for watching my video.